Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we will be talking about the bestseller book called The Psychology of Money, Timeless Lessons on Wealth, Greed and Happiness. The book has been written by Morgan Housel. In this, he explains about the psychology of money. So let's get started. In the first introduction video, he describes about the greatest show on the earth, which is money. Focuses more on one thing about money is your behavior towards money, and he emphasizes it much more time than anything. He says that it has little to do with how smart you are and lot to do with how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach even to really smart people. He defines financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. It doesn't matter if you have a good college degree, you're best in education, you have best in anything. You really need a disciplined behavior towards money, which will make you more and more successful in personal finance. So it's all about the behavior, and this is the soft skill that author tries to teach you, and he calls it psychology of money, which is greatly underappreciated. He just describes the story of two men, like how someone with no college degree, no training, no background, no formal education, formal experiences and no connection can massively outperform someone in investing, not in the other fields but in investing, with the person who has the best education, best training, best connections, best network, best experiences. So the book starts with the story of two men. The first man called Ronald James Reed. He is an American philanthropist, investor, janitor and gas station attendant. He was born in rural Vermont, and he was first person in his family to graduate his high school. And there was nobody in his family who has graduated up to this level. He was the first person. So he used to fix cars at a gas station for 25 years of his life. He also used to sweep floors for 17 years. And he bought 2-bedroom house for $12,000 at the age of 38 and lived there for the rest of his life. He got widowed at the age of 50 and never got remarried. One of his friends recalled that his main hobby was chopping firewood. It was the year of 2014 and he was at the age of 92. He died, and at the same time he made an international headlines, and what it states that he had become a millionaire. Everybody was shocked. How can this be possible? How really can this be possible? In 2014, approx 28 lakh Americans died, and fewer than 4,000 of them had a net worth of over $8 million when they passed away. And Ronald Reed was one of them. And in his will, he just left $2 million to his stepkids and more than $6 million to local hospital and library. So how did he get all that money? How it was possible? There was no big secret. He hasn't won any lottery. He haven't got any inheritance. So what he did, what was the secret? It was the behavior and the discipline towards the money. Whatever he saved, invested in blue chip stocks, and he waited. At the end of the decade, as a tiny savings compounded into more than $8 million. So that was a journey from janitor to philanthropist. And the next story of a man called Richard Fuscon. So after a few months, one man also died, and he was the Richard Fuscon, and he was exactly opposite of Ronald Read. He got the best education and he had an MBA in finance, and he retired at 40s to become a philanthropist. He was a CEO of a company. He was included in the business magazine 40 under 40 list of successful business people. Moreover, he just had 18,000 square foot home in Greenwich. He had 11 bathrooms, 2 elevators, 2 pools, 7 garages, and all of them cost more than 90,000 a month for maintenance. So when financial crisis hit in 2008, he almost got bankrupt. His high debt and illiquid assets left him bankrupt. He currently have no any income with him. He has to sell his home, which was once upon a time called by his guests like a thrill of dining and dancing home with swimming pool. It was sold for an auction for less than 75% of what an insurance company figured it worth was. So here's the difference. The difference was all about the behavior of yours towards money. Ronald Read was patient. He was not greedy. On the other hand, Richard Fuscon was greedy. He wanted to live a lavish lifestyle and was not disciplined about his personal finance. So your experiences, your education background doesn't matter at the end of the day. You can see it. The real game is to be consistent, disciplined, and your ultimate behavior towards the money. Nobody knows what happens next. So in investing, people can outperform other people with high degree, higher college, higher experiences if you know the power of compounding. So as you can just figure out with the two different kind of stories, two completely different zone of stories. Like one's life was not so good. It was low key from his birth and it was like a struggle, but at the end he was a super rich person. And one who has better background, better education, better experiences, and best in everything was bankrupt. So what's the difference? Author says aim of this book is to use short stories to convince you that soft skills are more important than the technical side of the money, and in turn will help you to make better financial decisions. As you can see that finance is very overwhelmingly taught as a math-based field, where you put some data into the formula and formula tells you what to do, and it's assumed that you will just go and do it by yourself. And nobody is going to teach you because everybody thinks it's a math-based field. But the truth is, it's not a math-based field. You really have to study the behavior of yours, behavior of the person around you. In personal finance, you are told to have a 6-month emergency fund and save 10% of your salary. It's true in investing that you know the exact historical correlations between the interest rates and valuation. And it's true in corporate finance that where CFOs can measure the precise cost of capital. I'm not saying any of these are bad or wrong, but you really need to see the other side of the story too. It's that knowing what to do tells you nothing about what happens in your head when you try to do it. So here's the thing. There are two things which matters everyone and which impacts everyone, whether you are interested in them or not. These two things are health and your money. In any point of time, you are going to encounter these problems. If you're not sorted with your health or with your money, these topics will really impact you. This thing will really impact your life. So with the trial and error things, we have just learned to become a better farmers, skilled plumbers and advanced chemists, better doctors. But at the same time, the author asks us question about personal finance. Like, has trial and error taught us to become better with our personal finances? Are we less likely to bury ourselves in debt, more likely to save for a rainy day, prepare for retirement, have realistic views about what money does and doesn't do to our happiness? Most of the reasons why the author believes is that we think about and thought about money in ways that are too much like physics. Like physics have rules and laws. It's the fact. If you just throw apple in the sky, it is bound to go back to the ground because gravitational force is working. But it is easy to make you understand because it's the fact. Money is seen as a fact. It's been taught like a physics and not enough like psychology with emotions, with nuances. Author calls money is one of the greatest shows on earth. Like money is everywhere. So it affects all of us and confuses most of us. Everyone has their opinion about their money. Everyone thinks about it little differently according to their situation. It offers lessons on things that apply to many areas of life like risk, confidence and happiness. Few topics offer a more powerful magnifying glass that helps explain why people behave the way they do than money. So here's the thing, we really need to differentiate from today that it's not a maths or physics which is governed by a certain law or formula, but it is guided by people's behaviors. It's not physics or maths. That's why you should read this book. You might be asking question, how? If it's not maths, if it's not physics, if it's not the formula or the rates or the interest, then how this is affecting based on the people's behavior? So how I behave with money might make sense to me but look crazy to you. If I am spending 10,000 on food and you're spending only 2,000 on food, you will say I'm crazy. So it's all the behavior that matters. You have to study the behavior of human mind, people's behavior, how they are reacting. So the more you study, the more you will realize and more better you could understand through the lenses of psychology and history, not finance. So to grasp why people bury themselves in debt, you don't need to study interest rates. You need to study the history of greed, insecurity and optimism. To get why investors sell out at the bottom of a bear market, you don't need to study the math of expected future returns. You need to think about the agony of looking at your family and wondering if your investments are imperiling their future. It's the situation that has been put in order to make you behave like that with your money. So here's the word and their meaning from this book which I have covered. The first one is apropos, which means appropriate or with reference to. Second is rebuttal, which means disapproving counter argument. Third is hitchhike, which means to travel by getting free lifts and passing vehicles. when you do on the road, like you just make a sign from your thumb and stop the passing vehicles so that you can get the lift from them. Fourth is janitor, which is a caretaker or doorkeeper of a building. Fifth is imperil, which means to put at risk of being harmed, injured, or destroyed. Let's now see how it was used in the sentences in this book. So the first one is apropos. He bragged openly and loudly about his wealth, often while drunk and always apropos of nothing. Second is rebuttal. For every good explanation, there was an equally convincing rebuttal. Third is hitchhike. He hitchhiked to campus each day. Fourth is janitor, which is when the humble rural janitor made international headlines. And the last one is imperil. Your investments are imperiling their future. So that's it for this part. We'll begin the next topic in the next video. So I hope you have gained some valuable information about this topic and this book, and stay tuned to know more. Thank you so much.